A metal monolith shows up out of nowhere in the Utah desert, then vanishes just as mysteriously as it appeared. In Libya, glass formed by an ancient explosion was found in the desert, and inside it are minerals that only form during massive impacts from space. And deep in the Namib desert, thousands of perfect circles appear. No one knows what causes them. These are desert discoveries that seem like they're from another planet. In late 2020, a helicopter crew flying over the Utah desert spotted something strange sticking out of the ground, a tall, shiny metal slab. It was basically the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey. It didn't look like it had crashed there. Someone, or possibly something, planted it there deliberately. The Utah Department of Public Safety posted photos online but didn't say where it was. They were worried too many people would show up. But that didn't stop the internet. A Reddit user named Tim Slane figured out the exact location using Google Earth, and even narrowed down the time frame of when it first appeared, sometime between 2015 and 2016. Once the internet caught on, people made the trip out to see it. Then, just like that, it vanished. A group of guys eventually claimed they removed it to protect the environment, but that didn't explain where it came from originally or why it was there for years without anyone noticing. Was this an art piece, or was there something else going on? No one really knows. Across the Namib desert are thousands of strange circles, each one ringed with short grass, but totally empty in the middle. And nothing grows inside them. Even if you water and fertilize the soil, it just stays dead. These things stretch for nearly 1,800 kilometers, and no one really knows what causes them. Some scientists think termites are creating them from underground. Others think they might be caused by toxic plants, gas leaks, or just animals rolling around in the sand. That last one doesn't really explain nothing being able to grow in the circles. The other weird part is how uniform they are. The circles don't overlap, and some researchers believe there has to be some kind of system or pattern behind where they appear. They can be as small as 6.5 feet or 2 meters across, or as wide as 65 feet or 20 meters. And they last for decades, sometimes 70 years, before they suddenly vanish and new ones form somewhere else. The biggest cluster is in Namibia, but similar patterns have started showing up as far south as Cape Province in South Africa. Locals have come up with legends to explain them, calling them footprints of the gods. Whatever's going on, it's happening on a huge scale and across very harsh, dry terrain. Fairy circles don't leave behind much evidence when they fade away, so tracking how or why they form is tough. Right now, they're still one of the strangest natural mysteries in any desert on the planet. Scattered across a stretch of desert between Libya and Egypt is a weird natural glass that looks like pale yellow gemstones. Some pieces are small and sharp, others are big and smooth. It's called Libyan desert glass. It's made almost entirely of silica. Scientists say it formed around 29 million years ago, but no one fully agrees on how. The leading theory is that a giant space rock either hit the ground or exploded just above it, unleashing so much heat that it melted the sand into glass. That kind of blast would have been way more powerful than any nuclear bomb, and you could see the results baked into the landscape. Some fragments also contain redite, a mineral that only forms under insane pressure, like what happens during a meteor impact. So that detail basically rules out the idea that it was caused by anything other than a direct hit. Archaeologists have found ancient tools made from the glass, and there's even a piece carved into a scarab in King Tut's tomb. But seeing it sitting in the desert sand, it really does look like some kind of alien planet. In 2011, archaeologists digging in the desert in northern Kenya found something that didn't match the timeline. And what do I mean by that? Well, they found all these stone tools, sharp chipped rocks that were clearly shaped by hand, but the tools were over 3 million years old. That's way older than the earliest known human remains, which only go back about 195,000 years. So who or what exactly made these tools? That's the mystery. Whoever did it wasn't one of us, meaning not Homo sapiens, and probably not even a direct ancestor. It had to be a different kind of hominin entirely. Maybe something we haven't even discovered yet. They picked the right kind of stone, used another rock to shape it. That takes some planning and precision. And the location near Lake Turkana is nowhere near where the oldest known humans were found either, so this opens up a lot of questions about early human-like species and how widespread they might have been. Researchers are still trying to piece together what kind of creature could have pulled this off, but so far, no clear answers. In 2020, researchers found a strange greenish meteorite out in the Algerian Sahara. It looked like a regular chunk of space rock, but once they analyzed it, it turned out to be something way bigger. This thing, now called Erg Chech O2, is volcanic, meaning it came from the crust of an ancient proto-planet. And it's old, like older than Earth, over 4 billion years. It came from the outer layer of a planet that formed, had lava, cooled down, and then got smashed apart. This is one of the only times we've found a rock that lets us study early planet crust. What you're looking at here is a piece of dead planet that flew through space before being buried in the desert for billions of years. Imagine getting to hold the surface of a lost planet in your hand. Amazing. The Hypatia Stone was found in Egypt in 1996. At first, scientists thought it might be a meteorite. Some said it might have been part of a comet, but none of the usual classifications fit. Inside, it had tiny diamonds and all kinds of bizarre chemical traces. The ratios of elements were totally off, nothing like what you'd find on Earth, Mars, or even in known meteorites. Some of the compounds in it don't exist anywhere else. A couple of researchers even suggested it might be a leftover from a supernova explosion. Not a regular rock, more like cosmic debris from before the solar system even formed. If it really is what some scientists claim, this could be the oldest solid thing we've ever touched, older than the solar system itself. In 2005, archaeologists working in Egypt's Valley of the Kings made a strange discovery. Just 15 feet away from King Tut's tomb was another sealed chamber made entirely from limestone. Inside were 28 large clay jars and 7 painted wooden coffins. Everything looked like your typical burial setup, until they opened the sarcophagi. There were no bodies, not even any inscriptions, no signs of who this was meant for. Instead, each coffin was just filled with dirt, bits of clay, scraps of wood, pieces of fabric, and chunks of natron, the same substance Egyptians used to dry out mummies. In India's Thar Desert near a village called Boha, researchers recently found a bunch of enormous geometric patterns carved into the desert sand. They weren't spotted from the ground. These lines only came to light in 2021 thanks to satellite images. What they found was massive spirals, loops, and long parallel lines stretching over 48 kilometers, or about 30 miles. One spiral alone measures over 7 kilometers. The patterns are shallow, only about 10 centimeters deep and up to a half-meter wide, but they're incredibly precise and they're bigger than the famous Nazca lines in Peru. They're thought to be around 150 years old, possibly created in the late 1800s. But back then, there was no way anyone could view them from above. The geoglyphs are laid out around some old stone memorials known as chatris, which honor the dead, and that's led some to think they probably have some spiritual purpose. Still, no one really knows who made them. There are no local legends about them. No tools or construction clues have turned up either. Out in the Sahara, there's a place called Nabta Playa. It's basically like an ancient version of Stonehenge, only older, way older. We're talking over 6,000 years ago, at least 1,000 years before Stonehenge was even a thing. The site has huge standing stones, some over 2.5 meters tall, arranged in a circle with several rows of flat slabs nearby. Some of the stones line up with the summer solstice, and others may have marked the rainy season, which makes sense since the place used to sit right on the edge of a seasonal lake. No one really knows who built it. Whoever they were, they lived during the Stone Age and clearly knew what they were doing. Archaeologists found cattle bones and some everyday tools at the site, which might mean the place was used for rituals, but they've never found any human remains here. It looks like this was more for astronomy, tracking the sun, maybe even the stars. Professor J. McKim Malville, who studies ancient astronomy, said it's one of the first clear signs of humans trying to understand the sky. And this all happened long before the rise of ancient Egypt. Deep in western Sahara's deserts are hundreds of mysterious stone formations, and no one's quite sure what they're for or when they were built. Archaeologists using field surveys and satellite images between 2002 and 2009 documented these shapes, but detailed digs haven't really happened much. A few burial mounds have been dated to around 1500 years ago, and rock art nearby shows cattle, giraffes, oryx. Much of the site hasn't been explored though. Ongoing conflict and security threats have made fieldwork extremely risky. These stone formations are pretty intricate though. One of them stretches over 600 meters or nearly 2,000 feet, with circles, lines, rock piles all laid out together. A lot of people think they might be graves, but without any artifacts to actually date them, it's mostly just speculation at this point. I've been your host James, and I will catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.